Once again, thanks for joining us. Let's do a quick audio test here, make sure sound quality will be good. Okay, thank you. So we'll get started. Once again, thank you for joining us for today's Best Practices for Dynamics CRM 2013 webinar on business rules. With the release of Dynamics CRM 2013, Microsoft delivers continued innovation and key advancements. Some of these include improved user interface, enhanced mobility, business process automation, and business rules. In January's Affiliated, Stephen Jennings presented on business processes. Today, Jason Kelly, a member of Affiliated CRM implementation team, will be presenting on business rules. As you saw in the email invitation, the objective today is for you to see why you should use business rules, how to create them, how to deploy business rules using best practices. Questions will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. Of course, feel free to type questions so we can be sure to address them for you during the presentation. Also, recording will be made available via YouTube, plus we will be sending a PDF of the business rules slides after today's presentation. Jason.
Good morning. My name is Jason Kelly. Thank you for joining us for the webinar today. As Joseph mentioned, we will be covering portable business logic, aka business rules within Dynamics CRM 2013. It is a brand new feature for the latest version of Dynamics CRM 2013. And let us begin with the presentation. Again, it's always good to have a face with the voice or with the name. Some of you may have worked with me before. This is what I look like on the left, Jason Kelly, CRM Implementer. To the right is a picture of Joseph Mannion, your CRM Solutions Executive. And again, it's always good to associate the face with the name or with the voice, and that is who we are. A little bit about me. Again, my name is Jason Kelly, Microsoft Certified Professional. My email, if any of you would like to reach out directly to me with questions or concerns, feel free to do so at jason.kelly@aresgrp.com. I'll pause right there for a second, let you guys write that down if you want. And a little bit about my background. I have now over 4 years of experience with Microsoft Dynamics CRM, implementing, customizing, configuring, and deploying Microsoft Dynamics CRM. I have worked with Microsoft Dynamics CRM 4.0, 2011, and now the latest version of 2013. My formal education while I was in college, graduated, top of my class, was game software development, and through that formal education I became a very experienced .NET coder, programmer. I have served in a number of capacities for Microsoft Dynamics CRM projects, ranging from project manager, business operations analyst, account executive, lead implementer, junior developer, and senior developer. I am proficient in all phases of project development from concept to deployment in regards to Dynamics CRM. So let us begin with what are business rules and what can business rules do. Just a little bit of a background into business rules. In earlier versions of Dynamics CRM, a high degree of effort was needed to implement, deploy, and enforce custom business rules and logic within the CRM system. This degree of effort would generally include the use of custom .NET workflow assemblies, the use of custom .NET plugins, and perhaps the deployment of JavaScript to control certain client-side interactions. This inevitably would call for the work of a CRM developer. Due to the simplicity of Dynamics CRM 2013, the need for a developer to establish business rules and thus business logic is now generally a thing of the past. The two strengths of business rules are as follows. First, it allows CRM power users or system admins, administrators, to create and enforce if-then or if-else business logic types of situations. This is very powerful in regards to data validation and the enforcement of a business process within a CRM system. Secondly, the functionality of these business rules extends to the CRM mobile platform. One of the weaknesses of using JavaScript, a .NET compliant coding language, is that its deployment and use in mobile devices was quite limited. Therefore, the mobile element of CRM would often work and behave differently than its PC-based counterpart. This too, through the use of business rules, has been addressed in Dynamics CRM 2013. Business rules, through the creation of both conditions and actions, can be used to enforce a business process, calculate values, set the values of other fields, or completely render them visible or not visible. In addition, error messages can be produced when data capture requirements are met, and the ability to change a requirement for a particular field when a condition becomes true is also possible. The slide present here, I list the 5 basic functionalities of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Give you a chance to write that down. I'm now going to cover them in greater detail. So let's start with the very first one, data validation. The ability to compare, excuse me, the ability to compare the data in one field against the data in another without the use of code now exists in Microsoft Dynamics CRM 2013. As a result, a business rule can be set to take action if a condition becomes true. For example, if field product 1 is equal to $100 and field product 2 is equal to $100, it is possible to set a field named grand total to be updated with the calculated total of fields 1 and 2. Another example of the functionality present by using business rules is error messaging. In regards to data capture, if a field is so selected, an error message can be produced when the field is not populated with data. The definition of the error message is also at the control of the business rule created. What does this basically mean? Every business has a process and a procedure, and being able to control that procedure when certain data elements are lacking in data, when they have not been populated with data, that can be quite important to the maintenance of a business process. With error messaging, you can then point out to the end user that a particular field is missing data and thus correct the situation immediately. Business rules allows that to happen. Another functionality, the hiding and showing of fields. An end user can't mess up a situation if the fields are not present. If you cannot populate data into a field, well, then there's no mistake. And so that's generally the best degree of preventive maintenance. As I stated earlier, in any business process there are steps and procedures. The enforcement of business procedures is now easy to implement when using the hide field or show field elements of a business rule. Another condition that you can establish with the use of business rules is the locking and unlocking of fields. Similar to hiding and showing fields, choosing when to render a field read-only access or locked is also possible through a combination of conditions and actions in Dynamics CRM 2013. In short, what does this mean? This means that a company can ensure that the right elements of data are being captured when they need to be captured and not fraught with a lot of second effort or going back to a particular record to fill in missing data that should have been captured within the first place. The fifth and final degree of functionality that I will cover here with business rules is the setting of field values. In the earlier example, I cited a case where two amounts could be summed to produce a total amount. Through the use of a formula, values can be set to any field with the like data type. That is to say that the integer data type fields support other integer data type fields and so on. In short, formula-based rules can be used to produce numerical calculations. In addition, they are supported by the time-date data type, so it is possible to create rules that use them as well. Finally, it is possible to set the values in other fields when conditions become true. Simple data updates where values are marked from yes to no based on a certain data entry condition becoming true are now simple extensions of CRM 2013. Here on the PowerPoint slides, I have added some additional information in regards to those 5 basic functionalities of Microsoft Dynamics CRM business rules. And I will extend a few moments to the audience to capture those notes if so desired. A couple more moments here for you. And I believe the next slide also contains some further detail in regards to how to set field values and the 3 functionalities that can be extended from them. And now we shall move on. So that is a technical element, technical review, basic as it is, for business rules. Now, for the individual who is concerned about what is the value of a business rule, here on this slide I kind of give some of those finer points, but I've also prepared 3 points in regards to the value of business rules and what type of value they can bring to a business organization. The first point I will make is aimed directly at executives, return of investment type of thinking. A business rule will generally eliminate the need for JavaScript, and as I indicated earlier, JavaScript and the deployment thereof also called for the use of a CRM developer. While some situations may still require the use of JavaScript, a large amount of the need for custom client-side web scripting will be no more. This results in a lower degree of effort in regards to the implementation of business requirements and business rules in Dynamics CRM 2013. Simply put, if you're considering using Microsoft Dynamics CRM in the future, the cost of implementation or modification of said existing CRM system will be lower because of the use of this functionality. The second point I will make is aimed directly at my IT professionals. The ability to establish and enforce a business process now resides at the fingertips of the CRM system admin or power users. They are adaptable, flexible, and easy to implement. What does this mean? If a power user or CRM system admin would like to enforce business rules, they are simple, they are agile, in both in deployment and maintenance. So for an IT professional who was used to a higher degree of effort in perhaps establishing business logic for a particular CRM instance or maintaining evolving business logic for a CRM instance, this is now going to become a thing of the past as well. That degree of effort will be lower through the use of the user interface and through the use of business rules. The third point I will make in regards to the value of business rules will be aimed at my end users. User adaptation will increase generally through the use of business rules. With business rules in place, end users will enjoy a flexible yet repetitive process. This will free them up to place their attention on the matter at hand and not the management of the CRM system in which they are working on. In short, this basically translates to getting it right the first time. Users will have a repetitive process to enter their data into the system, and anything that is repetitive, obviously, the more that you do it, the better that you get at it. This ensures that the right amount of data is being captured at the right amount of time, and such data becomes actionable in a business intelligence sense as opposed to just having data about a customer or simple interaction. As Joseph mentioned earlier, for anyone who desires to have it, we do have best practices here at Affiliated in regards to business rules and the creation thereof. I'm going to cover some of the basic highlights of those best practices. For further details in regards to best practices for business rules, I highly recommend that you acquire the handout at the end of this PowerPoint presentation and at the end of the webinar, and review them when you have a chance. They will definitely help you in creating new business rules or maintaining existing business rules. One of the best practices that we have here at Affiliated is our naming convention in regards to business rules. We actually employ a naming convention for every element of CRM that we use, but obviously I'll focus on business rules alone today. Our naming convention consists of 3 elements, where we declare the entity, where we initiate a business grouping through numerical value, and then of course a logical description as to why the business rule is being created. So the very first element of our naming convention, if I am drawing a business rule against the lead, the very first element should be the name of the entity, i.e. lead. Business group is a numerical value. If there are 10 business rules against the lead entity, each one of them should be numbered 01, 02, and so on. At the end of those business rule declarations, we should have a description stating as to what each business rule does, what logical result it brings to the CRM system. So, to cite an example, if I have lead 01 business pipeline calculation, that business rule is drawn against the lead entity. It is the first business rule drawn against the lead entity, and its logical description, its logical functionality, somehow, some way, obviously you'll have to dig into the business rule itself, but that first business rule is aimed at producing some degree of pipeline calculation for that business rule and for the leads. That kind of dovetails into our second best practice, definable conditions. As you can hear, with lead 01 business pipeline calculation, I have set my definable condition. I wish to take some degree of action that is going to result in the advancement of a sales stage, the production of values in regards to that sales stage, and basically updating the information. So that's always step one in regards to creating a business rule. What do I want this business rule to do? The second step in regards to a business rule, after you identify the objective of it, is to identify the conditions within Microsoft Dynamics CRM which will make the business rule true. The third step then is to implement the business rule after you've identified your conditions, applying the appropriate conditional logic and the appropriate logical result of said condition. Creating a business rule, I will demonstrate that here shortly. And in regards to the miscellaneous advice, on the PDF handout that I mentioned earlier, in the bottom right-hand corner down here, you'll find a section marked miscellaneous advice. It is designed to, give you a little bit of a deeper detail, a little bit of a deeper dive in regards to business rules and the context of when you should create them. All right, so now it is time for the demonstration segment of the webinar. So I'm going to move over to Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And I already have a test organization at our disposal. The first thing I think is that it is wise to start with is, how do I create a business rule? Where within the system would I navigate to? How do I begin? So here, the very first step is to navigate to the top left corner marked Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And then from here, I'm going to navigate to customizations and customize the system. If you are an experienced user of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, either from 4.0 or from 2011, you will notice here that not too much has changed in regards to the customization section of CRM. The controls are very, very familiar, still the same. You still have the ability to access your dashboards, your reports, security roles, everything that should be familiar to an experienced user. To begin creating business rules, you expand entities, and you'll get a list of every single entity within Microsoft Dynamics CRM. For today's demonstration, I will be creating business rules against the leads entity, so I will expand the lead entity. And again, for my experienced users, you're probably familiar with the elements presented here, the forms, the views, the charts. The new element is the addition of business rules, and this is your access point. This is where you can begin creating them. To begin creating them, you click on business rules, and then you begin creating them by hitting the new button. So here, you give every business rule will need a name. Microsoft Dynamics CRM demands that, and so with our naming convention, we are drawing a business rule against the lead, so that's the very first element. I believe this is the fifth business rule created against this entity, so it is logical to designate it lead 05. And the logical function of this business rule right here is for demo. And so there is the naming convention in action, lead 05 for demo. Now, again, the second step of creating a business rule is identifying the conditions in which need to be validated. And so here, I will just simply add a very basic degree of condition where I will take a value from product field 1 and sum it with product field 2 and update the grand total amount. So to do that, I'm going to focus on the attributes in question. Here is product value 1. Also, you have the ability to determine conditions in regards to the operation of the business rule. If product value 1 says, perhaps equals $100, I could take action off of that. If it is greater than $100 or if it is less than $100 or equal to $100, I can also set those conditions. Here, the objective is to detect the presence of data within product value 1. So I'm going to select the condition contains data. Now, product value 1 is not the only field at play here. I need to detect value or data within two data fields, product value 1 and product 2. So this is where I'm going to create my AND condition. By selecting product value 2. And again, the objective is to detect the presence of data, so we will set the operator to contains data. And now notice here, I have two conditions. If product value 1 and product value 2 both contain data, then we will take the action that I prescribe here in just a second. It is very important to understand that both of these conditions must be true. If you are only aiming at one condition being true, then you would not use the AND option here. You would not create another condition. You would just simply have one condition. But since my condition and action are related to two product fields, I have to set both of them to detect the presence of data in both. So if there is data in both product value 1 and 2, what action do I want? Well, I wish to update the grand total field with the sum of product value 1 and 2. So let's go about making that happen. Here we are going to set a field value. The target of that field value is the grand total amount. I have here a custom attribute that I've already created for the demonstration called product total. And also we are going to be using a formula, basically product value 1 plus product value 2, take the result and update product total. So we'll be declaring a formula. And now we have to refer back to our product value 1 and 2 field for the formula to operate properly. So we will target product value 1 and 2. And then there you have it. As you can see, product total will be set to the sum of product value 1 and 2. Your final step is to add a description. And this helps a CRM power user or CRM system admin or developer identify the logical reason for this business rule and for it being in existence. This can help greatly in the future with further extensions or further customization of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and that's why we recommend a description being assigned to every single business rule that is in play. Your final step is to save the business rule and then to activate it. Now, I already have some business rules in play. I'm going to not activate this demonstration business rule so that I can refer to the 4 that I already have in existence. And as you can see here, lead 04 product value total is going to sum product value 1 and 2. And also I have laid out a very generic sales process for purpose of demonstration today. And the first 3 rules here, lead 01, 02, 03, go to identify and validate those conditions. So now that I've got these business rules in place, let's actually take a look at how they will operate. Now, to lay out the demonstration, I have to kind of dig into the context of the business, of the sales process I've laid out. So for this company, there are 3 levels of leads ranging in their amount, the potential value for the lead in question. The first value is going to be less than $10,000, and as you can see here, that is set in the potential value. The second condition is a lead that is potentially worth $10,000 to $50,000 worth of business, and the third value being $50,000 or more. So if a lead is less than $10,000, there is only a certain degree of requirement for capturing data for a lead that is less than $10,000. Now, if we go to the $10,000 to $50,000 range, on the other hand, more data will be needed to be need to be captured so that we can consider this a qualified opportunity. For a $50,000 or more potential value lead, this is where the highest degree of data captured is required, and you'll see how the business rules enforces that business process. So here on this lead, as you can see, less than $10,000, there are no additional fields available to me to fill out. This would be an example of the hide field, show field functionality of a business rule. As there are no more requirements to capture data, if less than $10,000, if potential value is set to less than $10,000, we're ready to go right now. This lead is ready to be qualified, and we can move on with business. Now let's assume that this lead is not worth less than $10,000. It's worth $10,000 to $50,000, and an additional need for data capture is now present. As you can see here, because the business rule, the second business rule that I created, validates that condition, $10,000 to $50,000, additional fields now become available. Let's assume, for example, that a lead between $10,000 and $50,000, the executives have deemed that they wish to track the source of said lead. This can potentially go to the effectiveness of marketing efforts. And so here, that data now becomes available to be captured, and the pick list is now actionable. Perhaps this lead came in through advertisement, perhaps this lead came in through a partner channel, or through other sources. But the point being is that once the need for the data to be captured is detected as true, the ability to capture that data is now present. Perhaps a $10,000 to $50,000 lead is a little larger than usual for the business, and so the purchasing time frame, i.e. the timeline it will take to fulfill such a purchasing commitment, is also a critical detail to capture, and that information is now actionable here as well. Whether they wish to buy immediately, this quarter, next quarter, this degree of business intelligence can be captured. Now let's move to the highest level of value, $50,000 or more. Now, as stated, it is part of the business process to capture even more data than what I just did with $10,000 to $50,000. So let's take a look at that. As you can see, the potential value is now set to $50,000 or more, and the maximum amount of fields on the lead form is now displayed. This represents the business process and the need to capture even more data. So lead source stayed present, estimated value stayed present, but as you can see here, product value 1 and product value 2 now become present. Also product total, the purchasing time frame, the rating, and the purchasing process. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero out these amounts so that I can demonstrate the formula at play. As you can see, product value 1 contained data, and so that condition was detected, and the sum of product value 2 was rolled over to product total. As product value 1 is set to 0 and product value 2 is set to 0, the grand total, of course, is 0. Now, what does it look like if I start manipulating that data? For example, with a $50,000 lead, perhaps they're buying more than one product, so they're going to buy $25,000 of product 1. And as you can see, immediately the product total represents the data entry and the data capture. Now perhaps we're going to buy another degree of product, a secondary product, a secondary purchase, and so we will add this up to 25,000. And as you can see, product total immediately updates to $50,000. Would it be possible to take the sum located in product total and update the estimated value at the same time? Yes, this would be another business rule that could be established in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Again, this is a demonstration, so I wanted to make it very, very clear the power of using a formula and using a formula to set field values. But it would be possible to update the estimated value or any other integer data type or currency data type that is found on the lead form. This concludes the demonstration process of business rules for Microsoft Dynamics CRM. At this time, I believe Joseph has gathered some questions for me, and I'm now going to turn it back over to him so that he can narrate the questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, we do have a couple questions. First of all, can you please, one of the questions was, can you please tell the differences between previous versions of Microsoft Dynamics CRM and Microsoft Dynamics CRM version 2013 related to business rules?
Absolutely, I'd be more than happy to take that question. With Microsoft Dynamics CRM 4.0 and Microsoft Dynamics 2.11, the use of business rules was not even in existence. It was not even there. So the need for client-side scripting, aka JavaScript, or perhaps the use of custom .NET assemblies to produce such business logic and such result from Microsoft Dynamics CRM would always require the use of a CRM developer. That would, of course, I guess you could say, increase the level of effort for an implementation or for the modification of an existing CRM, and that always equated to more dollars being spent in getting a system to operate properly or to operate to, maybe expanded expectations. So with this new functionality within CRM 2013, being user interface based, being almost wizard based, the cost of implementation for Microsoft Dynamics CRM goes way down. The ability for a system administrator or power user to maintain a system or even extend the use of a CRM system, that potential goes way up. As you can see here, I mean, that took me about 30 seconds to get that business rule into place. They are clonable, copyable, so that you can handle multiple permutations of a business rule. I believe business rules have the ability to support up to 60 actions and conditions respectively. They are incredibly flexible, incredibly adaptable, and I am very excited about what they will bring for the future of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Thank you, Joseph, for handing me these questions here. And let's see here. One of the questions or one of the observations that one of the audience members made is that you would need another rule to remove values that are set, kind of like the scenario I laid down here in product value 1 and product value 2. What he's saying is that if you update a value and the result is sent to product total, that you would have to have another rule to clear out the product total, the result of the action. This is true in some situations, but as you can see here with this rule, my logical condition detected data within value 1 and value 2 and was able to update product total as a result of that detection. Now, if I had left product 2 blank, the scenario in which this question alludes to then does become obvious. Yes, I would need to write another business rule to account for the null value in product 2. But because of the logical condition and how I implemented it, if I simply put product value 2 and set it to 0, which is not a null value, 0 does actually have a value, the presence of the 0 value is then detected in product value 2, and the update and result and logical action then fire off accordingly. So that's a great observation, but there are ways to outmaneuver such limitations of business rules if the conditions are considered before taking action. And here we have another question. Are you able to check the security role or team for a user when using business rules? Absolutely, yes. Security roles and privileges are part and parcel of any instance of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, be it 4.0, 2011, and now, of course, 2013. Is it possible to set a business rule against, or a security rule against a business rule to be determined by user access? Yes. For example, if a salesperson needs to have access to sales-related material within the sales module, i.e. leads, i.e. Opportunities, i.e. contacts and accounts, the security role will automatically restrict that individual to that section of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. As a result, the business rules that extend to other areas of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, perhaps service cases, they will not even be visible to that restricted user. The business rules that apply to the sales module, i.e. the leads, i.e. the accounts, i.e. the opportunities, and so on and so forth, those rules will be visible and thus enforced to that restricted user. So, in short, are security roles still a part of the management of Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and do those security roles extend to the logic and use of business rules? Absolutely. Nothing has changed in that regard. The third and final question, in which I will answer very, very quickly: will this presentation be emailed to the attendees? Yes. As a matter of fact, we do have plans to send this presentation to all our attendees. In addition, do not forget the best practices handout that comes with said presentation. And also, let me go one step further and give you my direct email. Do not hesitate. If you have questions about Microsoft Dynamics CRM business rules, security roles, perhaps the implementation or the modification of an existing sales process, or just general questions for Microsoft Dynamics CRM in general, feel free to reach out directly to me at Jason, Jason, .Kelly, Kelly, at aresgrp.com. I'd be more than happy to entertain your questions and respond to them as best as I can. I'm now going to turn things back over to Joseph for your recap, and thank you for your attention, and I hope everyone found this useful. Thank you.
Jason, thank you for taking the time today, both with the PowerPoint presentation and with the demonstration. The new release of Dynamics CRM 2013 introduced many interesting new innovations, including business rules as a way to provide custom business logic through a simple-to-use user interface and eliminate the need to write custom scripts. So, Jason, thank you for showing why an organization should use business rules, how to create them, and how to deploy business rules using best practices. Again, a recording will be made available via YouTube, and as Jason did mention, a PDF of the business rules slides and best practices will be sent to those in attendance. Once again, my name is Joseph Mannion, the CRM Solutions Executive. I can be reached at joseph.mannion@aresgrp.com. I also can be reached on my cell phone, 614-804-4942. We welcome the opportunity of further discussion around any of the innovations with Dynamics 2013 that was introduced, and get a chance to review them with you. But once again, thank you for participating with us. These are monthly webinars. We will be having more in the future. Please consult the affiliated website for our March webinar. So once again, thank you for joining us. We're ending a little short here to give you some more time for your lunch hour. And again, if you have any questions, please let us know, and the information will be forthcoming here over the upcoming days. Thank you once again for participating.